Good morning, everybody. Hopefully you had a good weekend and your team pick won the Super Bowl and you've already bought your gift for your significant other for Valentine's Day, so you're ready to hear what we have to say today. So first thing, we want to do some little housekeeping. 5Q ECA Marketing will be closed next Monday for President's Day, as I'm sure a lot of you are taking that day off as well since the markets are closed. So we'll be closed next Monday, and then we'll resume the following Monday. I've had a couple of our very good producers really sing the praises of a feature that ECA has available to everybody, and I wasn't sure if everybody was using it to the extent that it should be used, or even that people even knew that everybody knew that it was available to them. So I asked Jerry to be on today to talk about the Firelight technology, the Firelight sales automation software, how it works, why it's important, and how it can make your sale much more streamlined. So Jerry, we're lucky enough to have Jerry as a guest speaker today. So Jerry, turn it over to you.
Awesome. Thanks for having me on, Mike. Good morning, everyone. Yes, Firelight, if you're wondering what Firelight is, so I'll go over a couple of things. We'll go over how it works. I'll give you a little bit of a demo on it, how to get set up with it. All these things are very easy to use. And then kind of some of the benefits of using it too as well. So what is Firelight? For those of you who don't know, it's a fully integrated online application system that's integrated right into the ECA website. And it's fully connected with the carriers, and they keep the database up to date for you. So some of the nice things of using, or the advantages of using Firelight, an online application system, is we don't really have to worry about applications getting stale. So I know sometimes people will go on and they'll have applications that are old that are saved, and then you don't have to worry about that with the system because it's always fully updated. And then once an application is filled out for Firelight, then automatically you don't have to worry about the extra step of sending.
Hey, Jerry, can I jump in here a second?
Yeah.
Can I jump in a second? Are we looking at your computer where it says urgent DOL update?
Yes.
So I think we're talking about Firelight, and then this shows up. So maybe can we just talk about this first, and then we'll jump into Firelight, because I think people are getting confused. I'm getting confused on whether the two are related, or are they related?
Oh, no, they're not. Sorry about that, guys. So
okay.
I'll show you here to how to get into Firelight. No problem. So
but first, talk about this.
So right here, ECA Marketing's website. To get to Firelight, for those of you who would want to use it here, you'd go to ECA's website. So this happens to be the home page here. So you can just come to the home page. You got to get logged in. So you have to make sure you log in. And then you come to Sales Tools here. Okay? So you hover over Sales Tools, and then there's a drop down, and you'll see Firelight Login. So you just click on that. You'd put your username and password. Mine's already signed in. And then it's a pretty simple system here. We just go to Application. I'm going to show you how to do it here. You just come up to Application. Then you would select your jurisdiction, so whatever state you're in, so wherever you're taking that application. We'll just say Minnesota in this case. And then the product type. So we only have it set up. Pretty much every single annuity carrier that we offer, we have on Firelight. We went and grabbed them, and then when we add new carriers, we add them to the system as well. So then we got to grab our product type. So we only have this for annuity. And a lot of times, I've had people when they went in here, when they grabbed their product type, they couldn't find the correct carrier. They're like, oh, you have limited numbers of carriers that are on here. So you got to use the correct product. So if we're doing fixed indexed annuity, we have to go to fixed indexed annuity. I've had people go to fixed annuity or equity indexed annuity, or even deferred income annuity looking for fixed index annuities, and they didn't have the same product lineup on there. So we go to fixed indexed annuity or multi-year guarantee annuity. Those are our options there. We click on it, and then we go over to carrier. So we go to select carrier. You can see pretty much any carrier you would want on here is on here. Pretty wide list on here of carriers. For some reason,
if they're trying to use this and they can't find their company, they're just not looking at the right place, because everything is on this.
Yeah, that's almost every time I've had that, where I've had people like, hey, I can't find Athene on here, and I mean they're a pretty widely used carrier. You're probably in the wrong spot. So you then select your carrier. And we even have, to be honest with you guys, we even have some carriers that most of the insurance carriers these days, they have an online application service from Firelight built into their website. The nice thing about having it at the ECA website is you can see, instead of having to go to and learn, 20 different systems, you have all the carriers here in one spot. And then on top of it, like I said, so we'll go ahead and select, let's say Equitrust here, okay? All right, so now we get to select any of the Equitrust products. So one of our favorites here is Market Value Index. Simple as just selecting the product. Here's all the required forms that are in there, has them all check marked. And then they have some optional things that you can add here too as well. So if there's a power of attorney you're using, extra 1035 paperwork, they have everything right here. And then you just hit create. You can name your application. And then we move to the next page. Here you go. Looks exactly like an application that you would get directly from the carrier. And then it lets you know right up here, data entry, lets you know what percentage of it is filled out. It highlights in red for you what needs to be filled out. You can't mess up the application because you can't submit it until you actually have the entire application filled out. And then you can go ahead and fill an application out, and then you set up your e-signature, and then you can email it. It'll email the application over to your client, so you guys don't have to do face-to-face. And then the client can apply their signature, and then it sends it back, and then you submit it to the carrier. So you don't have to be mobile. You can also do it live, and it kind of guides you through all the things that you need to get done. So it makes it so more efficient to get this done, a little bit quicker, less NIGO issues. So speaking of things that make it easier and maybe better for the business, you have less NIGO issues, and then you have less situations where you're getting caught having to go back and meet up with a client. And I know some of you, a lot of us don't really like having to do that if we can help it. So it makes that process better for you, so you don't have to worry about having any of those issues. But pretty much every carrier is on there. If you want to get set up with Firelight, it's fairly easy. If you have a ECA marketing account, I'll show you here. So if you have an ECA account, it's pretty easy. Just go to, I'll log out here. You'll just go, if you don't have an ECA account, I think most of you do, but if you don't, just go to login, go to register here, and you can create your account. Once your account's created, all you have to do is email myself or Matt Hendrickson, and then we have to talk to our head of new business. She'll set you up a Firelight account. So you can email with your credentials, and it's going to be your email and the password we set up for you. And it's as simple as just letting us know. We'll send it over to you, and then you just use that email username and password, Firelight login, and then you're in. And then it's fully integrated with us. Whenever you fill out an application, it sends us a copy of it so we can follow it. We don't really need to scrub it because the app's going to be in great shape because you can't make a mistake. But we will follow it and make sure it goes through the processes with the carrier. The one thing to note when you are doing an online application is the transfer paperwork being it's DocuSign, most carriers won't accept it. So you still have to go ahead, get wet signatures on the transfer paperwork. That way they get accepted. So that's just one thing that you just want to make sure you do still. You can print off the transfer paperwork separately from the online application to make it easy. You don't have to go dig for it. You're able to do that, and voila, there we go. So any questions at all as far as how that goes or how does it get set up on it that I could answer? Nothing? Don't see anything, Mike?
No, but can we go back to my screen, Missy? Because I'm going to have you walk through. I interrupted you just because it was confusing. The DOL thing was confusing with this, but I want to look at and have you just walk through why this makes sense. So are we all seeing the end-to-end digital sales experience one platform?
Yep, we sure can.
Okay.
Yep,
So
I
can
can
you
see
just
it.
walk through why each of these, why pre-sales, product quote, I mean, all that stuff, why this makes sense and why our biggest producers are using it. And one of our biggest producers using it without, unfortunately, his sales assistant left him. And so he's still writing a huge amount of business. And so this has been his his godsend to be able to do that.
Yeah, well, I know. I mean, one of the biggest things is because if you have an assistant with you, they take care of a bunch of things that to make life easier for you, because they're going to go through and fill out your application for you. They're going to make sure everything's perfect. They're going to make sure your life is easy. That's what your assistant does. But we don't all have that, and we don't have someone there to do those things. So just being able to Firelight really stepping in as that assistant for you, and it'll actually save a lot of your information. So if you clients that you have, that you've done applications on in the past, those people, it'll save a lot of that information in the system. If you have a CRM, whether it's Redtail or Salesforce, there's several different systems that are there. You actually can tie your CRM system in with your Firelight, so you can actually pull client data, kind of like you would if you had an assistant. If you connect your CRM to it, it'll pull data information on clients, and it'll pre-fill applications for you. So that's a massive amount of time savings for you in a business. It's kind of like having an assistant if you don't have one, and just that continued process through what's just making it easier with the applications. Some of the systems, the main one that we have with Firelight, they do have a handful of other tools here. Like they have their own product quoting system. We have some illustration functionality on there, but primarily we use Annuity Rate Watch for it. But there is, we have some illustration with it, but primarily it's the application systems that we use to make things easier for you guys. So I would recommend, it's going to cut down on your time in front of the client, because you can get a lot of this information filled out in advance. And then the NIGO issues. I mean, I would say, because you have, a lot less issues with your applications at the carriers as well. I would say, you might be able to cut down the process of, the application process probably, in half. You don't have some of the same issues you may have with the app when it's at the carrier. And then also when you're in front of a client as well. Everything moves so much quicker. Everybody's kind of used to flipping through, adding a signature on there. So, I think it's worth using. If you're a person that's not real tech savvy, I would actually tell you too, it's a pretty easy system to use. As you can kind of see here, it's just clicking on, required field, type in the name, move forward. Pretty simple, easy system to use, and I think it's going to cut down on some issues for you.
Well, I love you. Am I right or not? Or did I hear wrong where you said it will not allow you to submit it if you're missing a blank? If you're missing a blank, it's going to say, no, you can't submit this yet. You're missing a blank.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it won't.
And I can't tell you how many times on paper applications, being the typical salesperson, that I would go through there and miss something. And then, like you said, you have to go back to the customer or the client and say, hey, I forgot this. Can you re-sign that? This at least prevents that from happening, where you're sending in a complete application.
Yeah, and it tells you right here at the top, 48%. Tells you what percentage of it is. And the nice thing is, if you have issues with an online application, the great thing is we're just a phone call away. I have people every now and then where they get a tiny little issue, or they can't figure something out. You can give us a call. We can go in, look at the application, and typically most issues are settled within a couple of minutes. So we got people that can help you out if you have an issue. But if you'd like to get set up with it, go ahead. You can shoot myself an email or shoot Matt an email. Let us know that you want to get set up, and we'll get you credentials and get you connected, and you can start using it. You can start using the system immediately, and you'll be good to go.
And then we have a couple related, thanks, Jerry, but we have a couple related questions. The first one from June is it quicker to initiate the transfer yourself instead of waiting for the carrier?
Is it quicker to initiate the transfer yourself instead of waiting for the carrier? I would say anytime, it depends on, so there's sometimes if the money's at an RIA, if you have the money and you're in control of it, it is way quicker to initiate the transfer yourself than to have the carrier to send transfer paperwork out. So in that case, yes. If you're talking about the money's at another annuity carrier, typically you're going to need transfer paperwork for that. Letter of acceptance. I mean, anytime, if you can initiate the transfer yourself, it's always going to be quicker than the carrier, just in general. Because with the carrier, they always have all their, they always have their kind of red tape things where it takes them, always takes them a day or two longer than it probably should. If they're going to initiate a transfer, the paperwork doesn't end up going out to the next day or the day after. So yes, if you can initiate a transfer, it's always going to be quicker.
Super, says thanks for that. And then Tom says maybe you could mention the quicker turnaround time from the carriers as well.
Yeah, with Firelight, because that's a good point. With Firelight, because the apps are cleaner, you do get a quicker turnaround from the carrier. So they have some confidence when they see those coming in. They know what Firelight does. So the application process is quite a bit quicker with the carriers because they know they're going to have a clean app that came through. So that's a good point, Tom.
Cool. Thank you, Tom. And any more questions for Jerry on this? Awesome. So if you haven't got up, oh wait, here's another question from Steve. How do we as an RIA initiate the paperwork ourselves?
Give me a call if it's with your carrier, if it's with your RIA. Obviously, I don't run one myself, but any of the guys that I work with, they're able to set up a I don't know exactly how they do it, but if they call in or if it's something you do on the computer, but I don't know if they just call in and say, hey, we're transferring, $150K to Equitrust, and the check, I can find out specifically for you, and they end up getting a check that they initiate a check that ends up being, for, to Equitrust for the benefit of Jim Johnson. So then you have your direct transfer and that ends up getting sent over to the carrier. So I could talk to my guys that do it specifically, but I think it's as easy as a phone call, or I think there may even be a system in their computer they're able to do it with.
And then Steve is kind of piggybacking on what Tom had said. He said, first time I used an e-app, it went through the next day. So just commenting on, yes, it does tend to seem to go a little bit faster when you use an e-app. So thanks for that. Oh, here's Gregory is saying, example for TOA, my custodian allows e-signature as long as I am on both sides of the transaction.
Sure, yeah, absolutely. The biggest thing on the e-sig is a lot of times, like most outgoing carriers, like if you're most outgoing carriers in places, most of the time, there are some exceptions, but most of them out there won't accept the e-sig on it. So that's where you got to have the wet. But if you're on both sides of it, yeah, I'm probably sure it would work. But if you had if you're on the other side where the money's coming, you can always initiate funds generally yourself anyways. So
coolio. Well, this is a great addition EC has brought to us. So if you're not using it, please, I would highly recommend getting on board with it because it just seems to make things so much easier. So thank you, Jerry. Have a great rest of the day, and I appreciate you being on and kind of sharing this with everybody.
Thanks, guys. Talk to you this week.
We'll get back to me just a second here, guys. I want to talk a little bit about how to found money where it costs you nothing to write more business. I'm sure everybody would like to know how to do that. What I'm talking about is how to revive stalled deals. So the way I've seen people, guys, if you got it, somebody who's ghosted you, or the deal is stalled, or they decided to move on and do something else, or to stay where they're at, whatever. Does it really work to leave voicemail after voicemail, or email after email after email saying, just checking in, seeing how things are, just checking in, are we moving on the process, just checking in? Does that stuff work? No. Just checking in is one of the most horrible things that you can do to follow up. So I want to go through some different ways that we can maybe revive that process for people. So, and the reason it doesn't work is because how much time and effort does it take for you to send an email or a phone voicemail, say just checking in? How much time and effort does that take? A lot or not very much? See, effort is the biggest indicator of interest. Effort is the greatest indicator of, oh, this person, this advisor is different from my current guy. So when we call and leave a voicemail, we call and leave an email, the main thing is we have to, when we're calling them, have something in our mind to leave value with them. Not checking in, give them value first. So you can do that when somebody has ghosted you. You can do that when somebody has maybe decided to stay where they're at, but you're checking in maybe 6 months later if you're doing a good job of following up. Always leave messages of value, whether it's email or voicemail. So what is value? Well, something that people want or need. Could be a product or a service, could be a solution to their problems, or something that brings them both joy or both. So when I want to revive something, first of all, why, if I'm in the process and they've decided to move forward and then they ghost me, why are they ghosting me most likely? Why are they ghosting me most likely? Because they think they're okay. That could be, yep. Don't see value. Cold feet, yeah. I mean, so generally, if you do a good job and at the 21-point checklist, and they are all hot and bothered about getting those non-financial things done, and the wife is saying, we need to get these things done. That guy is not doing these things. We need this done. Why have they decided not to move forward? Because they don't want to get the non-financial things done, or they don't want to what? They don't want to move the money. They don't want to move the money. If they could magically snap their fingers and get the power of attorney fixed, and get the survivor's guide, and get the checklist for the property cat, if they could snap their fingers, would they want that? If you do a good job, 21-point checklist, would they want that? Yeah, they would like that. But they're thinking, shoot, but then that means I got to move the money. I don't think I want to do that now. And it could be because any number of reasons. Could mean it's too much of a hassle. Could mean they don't feel they know you well enough. It could be that they don't want to confront their current advisor. It could be any number of things. First of all, that's an indicator that you did a great job at the 21-point checklist, or you need to go back and listen to that tape and find out what happened. It means you got to go listen back to that tape and find out what happened. But just because we did and maybe missed something or didn't do something with the 21-point checklist, should we flush this case down the toilet, or should we try to get it back on track? Oh, shoot, I screwed up. I guess I'll just move on. I mean, you're talking about a $15,000, $20,000 commission. Do you want to just do that, or you want to try to get it back on track? Well, the way we're going to go through is other advice on how to leave messages. But I'm going to tell you the way that I recommend leaving messages, which comes right back to number one, which is value, and give actionable advice, is I would always call up and say, hey, this is Mike. I haven't heard from you. I left a couple messages. If you're not getting them, please, I'll try a couple of different ways to make sure we're getting this information to you. If you decided to just keep the money where it's at, hey, that's no problem. I mean, it's your money. You worked years or decades to save that money. Your money is your business. But you know what? We talked about some other things. We talked about the power of attorney and Social Security. And once I have opened up that can of worms, I can't really move forward for ethics purposes until that's taken care of. So keep the money where you want. I don't care about the money. Keep where it's at. But can we get together and take care of this power of attorney and how it works with Social Security, so that I can at least check that off hey, it's done. I can move on. You can move on. But until we get that taken care of, it stays open on my system, because for ethics purposes, I can't really move on until you get that taken care of. So leaving the money where it's at, but please call me so we can get together and at least take care of that power of attorney and Social Security. So let me ask you a question, guys. How many times did I tell them, leave the money where it's at? Many. Why did I tell them many times to leave the money where it's at? Did they really not want to move forward to get these things, other things taken care of? No, they wanted to. They just didn't want to move the money. And it's amazing. When you do that, 50% of those people are going to call up. Not everyone, but 50% or more will call you up and say, yeah, if you can help me do that, that's terrific. Did I add value? Did I add value and give actionable advice with that phone call? And does it sound like they need to be worried about me trying to move the money? No. I've told them 5 times, don't move the money. That's cool. But I can't move forward in my life until we get this one thing taken. It doesn't necessarily need to be power of attorney, Social Security. If there was, you want to have notes of what was their hot button, and whatever that hot button was, whether it was fixing the beneficiaries or whatever it was, that's what you want to say that you'll fix when they come in. But you always want to say, keep the money where it's at. Don't move the money. I don't care about the money, whatever. But the funny thing is, when they come in, you're simply going to fix that thing. And when you fix that thing, invariably, then they feel the need to explain to you why they decided not to move the money. And when you don't bring it up, they'll bring it up because they're so happy that you've helped them with this one thing they want to get taken care of, and they feel guilty about not moving the money. They'll explain to you why they didn't move the money. And when they do that, what do we do? When they explain to us why they didn't move the money, what do we do? That's right. We agree with them. We get on their side. We tell them the reason that they decided to keep the money where it's at is absolutely 100% right. And then what do? We use motivational interviewing to get them to change their mind. And on the website, if you go to our audio video school, we have a whole section on overcoming objections. Now, when should you visit that site on overcoming objections? The day before you have this meeting to revive that client. And so whatever objection they give you, you're going to get on their side. And then I go through the questions you can ask them to get them to realize that objection they had is not valid. And we're not going to tell them that. The questions we ask have them tell themselves that their objection is not valid and they need to move forward to you. But do you see how would they have ever come in if I try to do that on the phone? First of all, I don't know what their objection is. I don't know why they haven't decided to move forward. I'm just trying to get them to be renewed in the process. And the way you do that is not trying to find out why they're not moving the money. The way you do that is tell them, hey, I don't really care about the money. Let's get this one other thing fixed. And I have to, because I can't move forward ethically as a fiduciary until I get this taken care of. Then I can check it off. I can move forward. You can forward. We're all good. Does that make sense? That's how I recommend doing it. Guys have been using it for 20 years. I was using it for 23 years. It works awesome. But let's look at some other things that you can do to renew. Some people are not comfortable doing that for whatever reason, but we'll give you some other ideas on how to move the process forward. So give actionable advice. Maybe it's something you saw in the news. You could say, hey, can I shoot you an article? Charlie Munger says it's absolutely insanity to think owning 100 stocks instead of 5 makes you a better investor. Can I forward that to you? So it's only a 2-minute read. So what you're saying, did I mention them moving their money to me when I do that? See, so all you're doing is warming them back up, You're reminding them that what? What are you reminding them with something like this? That you what? That you provide value after they become a client or before they become a client? Before. That's what you're doing here. You can send them a how-to guide. Guys, you could send them just the whatever their hot button was. You could send that one thing to them. You could send them the property casualty checklist. You could send them via email, attach one of these things. Do we have lots of different things on our website you could send them that aren't even associated with the 21-point checklist? I'm going to get in here and bring up our site here for a second. Somebody asked where we see the tutorials and that kind of stuff. So let's go here, sign in. So the tutorials and objections, you go to library, audio video school. And then you go to, maybe missing it there, objections. We have this whole section on objections here. Audios, videos, and then we also have a PDF that you can use. Now, also, we go to marketing, no-cost marketing or low-cost marketing. And we have, you see, I'm trying to find out where we have all of those special things that we could do for the eye-to-eye.
The ebook bonus gifts, is that what you're looking for?
There we go, ebook bonus gifts. So you have a Make Medicare. So guys, I went to marketing, low cost, ebook bonus gifts. You get a Make Medicare easy package, how to keep your mind young, Fit Active Healthy package, 7 little known Social Security benefits package, Grandparents Essential Toolkit, pass on what's really important, how to squeeze every drop out of life. So you have all of these things that you could send to them, again, showing that you care before they become a client. And when you're doing this, if they're still with their current guy, which they are, and you send them this stuff, what are they thinking? Dang, this guy's not even my advisor, and he's sending me more stuff than my guy does. Would you send that to all at one time, or would you drip, 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 drip up on them? You drip on them. Make sense? Another thing you do, point out a weakness that needs addressing. Well, I just brought up the one with the power of attorney and Social Security, right? So bring up a point that needs addressing. And the wife's going to say, I don't care, Bob. We're going to get this taken care of. I think you're stupid for wanting to keep the money there, but if you want to keep it there, fine. But we're going to get this one thing fixed. We're going to see Mike. So you want that, find that weakness where the spouse that cares about the family, cares about security, is going to say, we're going to go and get this taken care of. Make sense? Or describe a potential opportunity. Are there potential opportunities right now? There's always potential opportunities out there. Share a relevant article. We just talked about like that Munger article. If snoop on them. If you're good at social media and you see something on their Instagram or their Facebook or whatever, you can comment and say, hey, you know what? Your comment on blah, 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 not only do we have the answer you're looking for, blah, 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 blah. So comment that you saw that on social media. Or reference a relevant blog post from somebody other than yourself that is agreeing with what you told them needs to be taken care of. So are there blog posts about Social Security? Are there blog posts about the dangers of bonds right now? Are there blog posts about, Tom says, about inflation? Yeah. So reference a blog post and give them a link to that. Or talk about upcoming events. Maybe it's your upcoming events, whether it's an online class, an in-person class, whether it's some other event that's happening, and recommend that they go to it. Here's a great one. Talk about a client story and say, hey, you know what? I just helped Jim and Mary, and they had a very similar situation to yours, and we did this, and here's what happened. People love stories. So tell them a client success story. Call attention to the competition. Hey, say, hey, you know, we've seen a lot of companies using Y strategy effectively this past quarter. How are you planning to address this recent development? What should you be using with this? What strategy is all of our competition using that is wrong? Very good. 4%. We see Company X has been using 4% strategy effectively this past quarter. How planning to address this recent development? So does our USP prove that the 4% rule is crap? Yes. If you don't get that, we've got tons of coaching calls that will help you with that. Bring up a common client challenge and show them how to fix it. What's a client challenge this time of year? Cleaning house. What can I shred? What shouldn't I shred? Is that something of value to them? Did this email get buried? I mean, this is the weakest one. Hey, Jim, just want to make sure I've sent you a couple of emails, left your voicemails. I want to make sure they're not getting buried because it's important that we get this taken care of. You know, of all the things we talked about, is that the strongest or the weakest? It's the weakest. But is it better than, hey, just checking in? Yes, it's better than just checking in. Another one you could use, which again I think is weak, but are you still interested in achieving this particular goal? Now you can make it a little bit stronger, because I would say, hey, are you still interested in making sure that your spouse, when you die, that your spouse doesn't lose your income? Because the number one reason people become impoverished or have to change their lifestyles when they lose a spouse and the Social Security income goes away. Are you still interested in achieving that goal? That at least has some what? Some teeth. If all else fails, I'm going to say, game over. Thank you for playing. I always said, I haven't heard from you. So if any of these other things I've done, they're still not responding to me, then I'm going to send an email saying, or if I'm going to send an email and a voicemail saying, hey, hi, Jim and Mary, it's Mike. I've left you a couple of voicemails, a couple of emails. I haven't heard back from you. I'm assuming that you've decided to move forward as you are or without me, and that's terrific. I just want to make sure that I reach out one more time. If really you are busy and you're having to get back to me, whether it's a family issue or a time issue, please give me a holler and let me know that. And I'm patient. We can wait as long as you want. But if it's truly that you don't want to move forward with me, that's okay. That's okay. Just let me know. I won't. In fact, you're helping me, not hurting me by letting me know that. Because then I can move forward. I don't have to bug you, and you're going to be happy because I don't bug you. I'm going to be happy because I can move forward and check it off my list. But please let me know one way or the other. If it is a time issue, I'm patient. We can wait till whatever that is. If it's that you just don't want to move forward, let me know that, and we can all move forward with that. And you're not hurting my feelings. You're actually helping me by letting me know. So what I'm doing there is saying what? You know what? Or get off the pot. And I've renewed so many dead things by doing that. Because, in today's busy world, do people that actually want to do things still not return phone calls and emails in today's busy world? They want to do something, but it's just not right now. Or, geez, we got this other thing. Oh, the kids are coming to visit, or we're going out to the grandkids. We'll do it when we get back. Does that happen? Yes. But when you say, hey, you know what, I'm moving on now. I also then say, now, if you decide that if I don't hear back from you, then I'm going to go ahead and shred all your information. And if we ever start to work together again, we'll just have to go through the whole entire process all over again because all of your information will be shredded. So what have I told them right then? I need them. I want them. I'm desperate to bring them on as a client. Or, when we break up, we what? When we break up, we're what? Broken up. Is that a show of strength or weakness by doing that? And do people want to work with somebody who's desperate for them, or somebody who give a crap if they become a client or not? They want somebody who doesn't need them. That's a sad thing. We want that doctor who does not need me as a client. Do I want to work with a doctor who is desperately in need of a client? No. There must be a reason he's desperately in need of a client. Make sense? But even after I terminate, if I don't hear back from them, what am I going to do? I am going to shred all their information. I absolutely am. But what am I not going to shred? Their contact information. Because then I'm going to do what? Drip, drip, drip. And do we give you tons of things to drip with? Yes. Then in my CRM, which I'm using to drip on them, I'm also going to put the note that 6 months down the line, I'm going to say, hey, how are things going with your choice? Hope things are going well with your choice to stay with your current situation. You've worked hard to achieve that success, so you deserve it. Please let me know if you have any other questions or be of service. I've had people that do this to me, and how do I receive this when somebody 6 months down the line just checks in like that? Do I have a positive or a negative view of them? Positive. And guys, do our competitors make mistakes? All the time. Do they delay returning phone calls? When everything's going to heck in the market, do they not reach out to the client proactively? Or they lose an assistant and then they can't get back to people in time. Or they lose an assistant, get a new assistant, or the assistant has a bad day, and when the people call, the assistant's snippy with them. Do those things happen? Yes. So when they get your drop-in note like this, it does renew things. And again, we've had Tom speak several times about his follow-up system. He's got people 3 years later out of the blue call him and say, we're ready to move forward now. And it's because he does these kind of things consistently. All of my advisors that drip heavily and consistently are always telling me about people that we revived a client from, or a prospect from 6 months ago, a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago. Tom is the king of that, but I've got probably a dozen guys who are awesome at dripping, and a huge chunk of their business, a third of their business or more, comes from these renewed people because they never let go of somebody once they come on. That makes, or come into their CRM system. Or you can send them an article. Hey, this reminded me of you. So there's tons of things that you can do to revive that. So go back into your CRM. Think about the things that we talked about today. So I'm going to cut you loose 15 minutes early so that you can actually go through your CRM or start the process or make a note to yourself. This week, I'm going to go back to all those people who never followed through, and I'm going to do what? Make sure they're on my drip system, and I'm going to figure out a way to get that process started again. Because how much does it cost you to do that? How much money does it cost you to do that? Zero. And guys, how many diamonds are in your backyard, do you think? How many diamonds are in your backyard? Those people that never move forward, that if you went back and really started to get back in touch with them, because guys, has the market been ups and downs? Do we have high inflation now? Are bond values getting clobbered right now? Guys, going back to people that you talk to, geez, anybody that did a 21-point checklist didn't move forward. Guess what? I'd be hitting heavily right now. Bonds. Because when they're looking at their portfolios, what's happening to bonds right now? Getting killed. So, does that make sense? Go back to your CRM, find those stalled cases, get them restarted. Hey, and this also applies to those clients that you know have money elsewhere. And do we all have clients that we know they have money elsewhere? Yes. Make sense? Awesome, possum. Well, I will not talk to you next Monday. As we said, we're taking President's Day off, but I will talk to you here in a couple weeks. Everybody have a fantastic rest of the week. Talk to y'all soon. Thanks, everybody.